Okay, they're coming on. But like I was saying, guys, so Pat and Amie Bowers have been with FFL. They first, can you guys hear us? Can you hear you? Okay. So Pat and Amie came on, and guys, it was kind of just like, and it was kind of just me and Josh. Like, they found us through, we did a bunch of YouTube videos, and it was like, they just found us like, hey, you guys are selling a lot. You guys are a couple. We want to do this with you guys. And we were super thrilled. And like, why would anyone want to come work with us? But okay, like, we'll show you what we're doing. It's not anything special. So just to see where you guys are at and how many families you guys have protected, and to see you guys go on the summers and take your kids to Hawaii. Like, I tell Josh, I'm like, dude, how sick is it to be able to be like, dude, my parents like go and work in Hawaii. They take us, like, we go surfing every day, and they get to go to work. So you guys are so near and dear to our heart, and we love you guys so much. And I'm just excited to have you guys on the call, because I feel like there's a lot of people who don't really know your guys' story. And I just want them to hear that you guys are the definition of like, no excuses. We're going to do whatever we have to do. So enough of me. If you guys can.
Wow.
Thank you. That was
I don't know if we're that deserving, Alondra, but thank
seriously,
you so much.
It's quite the introduction. We're already.
No, thank you guys so much for jumping on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we are like so grateful. You guys talk about us like being part of your team back in like kind of the beginning. It was actually 2 years ago this month when we started this whole thing, and it's been a crazy magical 2 years, and we're so grateful that we did land on your team of all of FFL, because we were coming with no background in the insurance industry. We didn't, I mean, it's crazy to say we didn't know any of those like 3-letter initials that stood for other IMOs. We didn't even know what an IMO was when we came on board, and we found you guys, and we were so blessed that we did. So thank you.
Thank you.
We are excited to have you guys on. And I think what I just love about you guys is you guys have absolutely no previous experience. So if you guys are on, Pat and Amie did definitely, like, we got teacher, I mean, had absolutely no insurance in a background. So can you guys just share a little bit about you guys, how you got started, kind of just share a little bit of like your beginning, and kind of just go with your journey with FFL?
Yeah, for sure. Amie, you go ahead.
So to start, Pat was in education. He was an administrator. We were just coming off of a 2-year kind of hiatus. Like, we pulled our kids out of school. Pat went into kind of like homeschool teaching, and it allowed us to travel the country. So we did that for 2 years, and we came back, and our oldest was starting high school, and he was like, okay, I need to go to school now. So he promised us 2 years, and we promised him that he could go to high school if he gave us that. So then it was like, okay, we need to jump back into the workforce. Pat was going to go back into administration. So long story short, we were both kind of on this education job search and looking for administrator jobs for Pat to go into. And I stumbled upon Family First Life, an ad. So I kind of tucked it in my back pocket. I'm like, this is something that I want to do. And so I researched it for a couple of days, got on YouTube, found Josh and Alondra, was like so amazed by them and their heart, how huge their heart was. I remember Alondra saying that her why was to retire her mom, or just to provide for her family, and same with Josh. So it aligned with our hearts. And so the more I got into it, I could not share it with Pat. So I said, hey, why don't you do this on the side, and I'll jump into it and learn. And he said, yeah, why don't you go for that and get your license? And then I ended up talking him into, let's just both get our license at the same time and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So we did that. And then we knew the first month that like this was real. And within 6 months, Pat cut the ties in education, and we just jumped straight in. The great thing about it is just there's so many success stories. So it was like, why can't we do this? Like, if they're all doing it, like, and sharing their secrets, and everybody's so helpful, like, why can't we? And so that's kind of been our mentality, and that's helped us this whole time.
Yeah. And we have like we've always had the growth mindset that we can do this. Like if somebody else can do it, we can work our way through, we can get uncomfortable. And if it just takes like being human, if that's the way that you can succeed here, then we can do that. Like we don't have to be fake, we don't have to be inauthentic. We're not selling something that's useless, we're selling something that is really meaningful for families. And if that's the case, then yeah, we're going to have to learn, and it's going to take hard work. We were never confused about the hard work. We never went into this thinking that every single person who comes here is going to have clients that are lined up ready to just give them checks and stacks of cash and like, here you go. Because if that's what it was, then everyone would honestly be doing this, but people, not everyone is doing this, and not everyone that is doing it is sticking around. And so we knew that like it was going to take hard work. We were absolutely not confused. And so when we got into it and we saw, okay, like this is the work part of it, this is the side, like not everyone's going to be nice. Okay, well, not everyone's nice when you go to a school, not everyone's nice when you're in front of a classroom, not everyone's nice when you, like, if you work at the DMV, like you choose your job, not everyone is nice. Okay, do these people, do they control my emotional happiness? Like, are they the ones who are going to decide whether I'm happy or not? No. If somebody who's in a bad mood hangs up on me or tells me to F off, like that didn't just ruin my day, like, so we knew going in that there was going to be struggle, and so we were prepared for it. And then we just, like you said, we had the mindset that this was going to work. Like we weren't going to quit. And we've heard it said so many times since then, like the only people who don't make it in this business are the ones who quit. Like that's the only way. Like I am not the best at this by any means. Like I go on and listen on Bing Bong, and like the people that are on there are so good at working through a call, and I'm just like I'm dazzled by what they do. I know I'm not that good, but I know that if I don't quit, I'm going to run into people who need my help. And that's all, I mean, to simplify it, and it's not easy, but if we don't quit, if we keep working every single day, even when we don't want to, it's not like, we don't have a choice in that. We just take the choice off and then we just go to work, even if we don't want to. So that's a little bit about what got us to where we are. And we are still in the struggle, guys. Like it doesn't go away, and you don't get to integrity and then it's like, okay, now I don't have to ever do anything. It's still work. Like, and we want it that way. We'd be bored out of our minds if we weren't working.
So Pat, what helped you guys get that consistency? Were you guys like from the very beginning, was that something that you guys always were? Like, how do you guys consistently write at a really high level? Like, what are just some important key points that have allowed you to sell at a really high level?
I think our lead flow has to be dialed in, because we've had, I know, like you said, when you crack the code, like you typically don't go backwards, but we found that like if we chase after every dangling carrot, like, and we lose focus, then we tend to sometimes like fall a little bit. But then we'll just recheck ourselves. Okay, let's just go back to the basics. Let's make sure our lead flow is there, and then it kind of gets us right back on track. But I would say, just like everybody else says, leads are like number one. Yeah. And then just having like expectations for yourself. We just listened to a really cool podcast this morning, and it was just having this mindset of like one more. So even if you can't like necessarily dial in where your leak is, if you can outwork it almost, if you could just do one more presentation, one more set of phone calls, like one more, if you guys are having your set of leads, like how Walter and Joanna, how they divide theirs up and they actually print them out. If you just take one more stack and dial through that one more time, if you outwork some of the leaks before you can identify them, I think it'll help it become more clear. But I would say lead flow, number one. Do you agree?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And then beyond lead, I mean, you have to have leads. Like you're going to suffer. Your length of time suffering is going to be multiplied by, it's like an inverse relationship. So the fewer leads you buy, the longer you're going to struggle and suffer. The more leads you buy, then the more opportunities you're going to have. And the more opportunities you have, then the quicker you're going to be able to correct some of the things that are holding you back. So if I take 1,000 leads and I put those into one dial day, then I get all of that learning in one dial day. And by the next dial day, I'm that much better. If I take those same 1,000 and I spread them out over 10 weeks, now it's going to take me 10 weeks to grow as much as I would have in the one day. So like we have to have leads, and then we have to work through this as quickly as possible. Like we want to maximize our efficiency so that we get to the point where we know we can do this. Now just step on the gas. Yeah, and I got one more. Go ahead, Alondra.
No, you go. No, you go. I don't want
So we have a framework that we love to use this ourselves, because this is what got us when we were kind of like, okay, how do we have these goals, but how do we manifest them, right? Like how do we turn what we're thinking we can do into what we can do? And so it starts theoretical. So you start with this idea, I can do it, right? But that doesn't really mean anything, because that's like before you've made a single call. You're so, in theory, you're like, I'm going to be able to talk to somebody and I'm going to be able to help them with insurance. And then the meaningful stage. So first is theoretical, where everything's good, everything's glorious, and you're going to be the fastest to whatever. You're going to be the fastest to integrity. You are the youngest to integrity. So your theory actually actualized. But for most of us, like we have this theory, and then we get to the meaningful part where we're feeling the pain, we're feeling the emotional hurt, we're feeling like all of this stuff, like the real. So it becomes meaningful because we get on the phone and we call and things don't go well. And we question everything that we theorized to begin with is now like we're questioning it all. That's the meaningful, that's the hardest stage to get through, because it requires a new version of you in order to move beyond it. So you have to accept that I'm in the midst of a struggle and that it's not going to last forever. There's nothing in this life lasts forever. So we just have to be like, this is where I'm at, but it's not where I'm staying. So I'm going to work through it. So we get from meaningful, we get to practical. And practical is where we are practicing. We find the things that work. Like maybe it's just one person is really nice to us. And now we figure out, okay, well, why were they nice to us? What did I do to help get them there? And I want to do that more. So now we practice over and over again. I can't tell you how many times, and I still do this. Amie will come in and she'll say, who were you talking to? I'm like, I wasn't talking to anyone. I was practicing. I want to work on my tone. I want to work on the way that I pause, like anything that can help make sure that when I'm talking to somebody about mortgage protection or insurance or an annuity, that I don't want to have a single hiccup unless I like literally plan for it to make it sound like I wanted to hiccup. So I'll practice all the time. So once we get through the practical, we start figuring out that we really can do this. And then the next stage is applicable. And so now we're just taking what we've practiced and we are applying it over and over again. And when you look at what Walter is doing, when you look at what Joanna is doing, when you look at Jason Tamita, when you look at the people who are doing this at a high level over and over again, month in, month out, they're in that the applicable. It's an application of what they've learned, just duplicated over and over again. But it's not like that's the end. It's not like once I get to stage 4, I've reached my destination, right? Like every single landing strip is a runway to our next destination. So even when we do get there, we're on the way to the next, and we're still working. Leads change, the way that dials change, like we are constantly evolving. So we can't like rest in stage 4. We just keep on working. And those people who continue to work and they don't like become lazy or comfortable, they're the ones who are going to just continue to succeed at the highest level. They're the ones who are going to be up on stage at the convention because their new comfort, and this is what happens when you get that far, you become comfortable with uncomfortable. You want discomfort. You seek it out. Like, where can I find the next place for me to do, like Amie said, to do one more? Like, I want to get to where I don't want to do one more, and I have to force myself to do one more. Does that make sense?
Yes, Pat. And I'm glad you shared that, because we heard you talk a little bit about those 4 steps when you came to Vegas. And I was like, because that is so true. I feel like we all go through that emotional roller coaster of like, you feel like unpowerful, like I can do this. This is easy. Like I'm going to be able to make all this money. And then you get with all these objections that you've never, ever felt before. You've never been on the phone. You've never held objections. And you're like, this is like the worst thing ever. And then you just keep practicing it and practicing. You're like, and then you're all of a sudden your activity is the same, but you're just getting better and you're practicing, you're going over and over. And then you're like, I'm not working any harder. I just got better. I just learned to tackle objections better. I practiced it better. I got better with what I was going to say. So, I mean, I'm glad you definitely shared that, because the other day I was like, that makes sense. Everybody goes through that. But if everybody can just get to step 4, like this thing is just really, really good. Like, I don't know where you can go and just legally make the amount of money that we can make here. People are asking for help and it's easy. It's simple. It's simple if you just do the work. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be writing at a high level. But what I love about this is what you produce is the work that you're put in. So if you guys are writing at 40,000, that doesn't happen from being on the phone a couple hours a day, working whenever you want to work. It comes from discipline. And that's what I love about you guys, is you guys have set a schedule, even with your busy lives with your kids. You guys have made it work to no matter what, we're going to sell at a high lip because we have to. Can you guys kind of just share about that? Like, how do you guys structure your day to like ensure you guys, no matter what, hit your numbers that you have to hit?
Yeah, it looks a lot different than everyone else's. So, ideally, like Pat and I want to wear all the hats, and like that's how we started. We were like, okay, we're going to be like the heist producers, we're going to be the recruiters, we're going to be our kids' Uber, like we're going to be our kids' like biggest fans in the stand. So like we were trying to do everything, and I'm sure you all know when you try to do everything, it doesn't work all that well. So we figured that part out first, and we kind of we each have strengths, and so we kind of went towards that. So I do a lot of the mom duties while but I'm still like 100% focused on the business. So a lot of times, like I'm dialing, setting appointments, I'm taking going through presentations as well. But for the most part, like we're focused on like a full booked schedule for Pat, and then I take all the overflow appointments. So anything over and above like what we would want to book in a day, then I take that on where my schedule permits. But yes, so I know there's like when there's kids involved, it looks a lot different than everyone else's schedule, but we just had to figure out a way to make it work, and just like, okay, tweak things here and there. Here's kind of a template of how everybody else is doing it, but like fit in our lifestyle and everything we have to do, and it looks that way. But we're both still 100% committed to the business. And then to our family as well.
And Amie is great at scheduling, and I'm great at being a squirrel. So she wrangles me into like, hey, like, you need to sit down and make these calls. Like, this is your responsibility, and she's gonna make all the breakfast, make all the lunches, she's gonna pick up, drop off. She does 1,000 things, and I call on, a certain kind of lead and make sure that I call and I follow up and I do those things. And so we do manage to work it out, like where, we're both able to write business, and a lot of times, like, we'll buy when a bunch of 1 months become available in the area. Those are all run by Amie. Like, she will dial, put them into Call Tools, put them into Zepo, and get texts sent out, and she'll book those, and then she'll run all of those entirely, like in between appointments. She'll tell me, like, she just dropped the kids off at practice and she's sitting in the car and she's on an appointment, and like, we make it work because, again, like, we don't have any choice. We don't get to say, like, we're not going to make it work. Like, we refuse to quit. So if it takes her making a call while she's at practice, if we wrote a policy while we were driving to Disneyland. We had live transfers turned on, and we wrote a policy as we were waiting in line to park. We closed it, and it's like, we're going to make it work. We're not, like, the word fun for us is doing this. And we love our kids. We take them places, we do all that, but we don't want to struggle for the next 20, 30 years and not be able to give our kids what we want them to have, what they deserve, because of fun right now, like fun in the moment. Like, no, we're willing to sacrifice that. Like, and I heard it today, that's an F word. Like, that is the F word that can ruin business, is fun. Like, oh, well, when are you going to go have fun? Like, no, this is fun. Okay. Like, when we see what we're able to do for our family, that's fun. So we've changed what our priorities are, and I think we've made them what they should be. And then we make sure that our schedule follows that.
I love that. And I'm glad you guys share that, because as you can see, I mean, everybody has those crazy schedules. It's just what's going to work for you. It's you sitting down, analyzing with, what's a schedule that's going to work for our family to make this work. Because it's like you said, it's working for too many people for this not to work for me. We have a lot of people on here that are like at that 5 to 10 mark. Like, we just can't get past it. What are you think is some things that they should change or implement into what they're doing to help them get to that point to where they should be? If that's what they want to do, if they're not happy there and they want to get better, what are some tips that you guys recommend?
So I would say I love that mentality, and I feel like it was so timely for this, because we didn't even know we were going to come on and talk. But that mindset of one more, honestly, I think that'll help catapult you past, like, maybe that limit that you're at right now. And then the other one is so huge. Pat and I have never been afraid to reach out and ask questions, like, or ask for help. We are constantly, like, still on a daily basis, we want to learn more. We want to know more. So don't be afraid to reach out, especially, to your managers. They may not know that you're struggling and you really want this. They may have thought, well, they must have moved on. Maybe they don't want this anymore. So yes, your managers should reach out to you every now and again, but, like, it's your job to reach out to them and reach out to others and ask for help.
And I would piggyback on that. Curiosity, I think, is the key to improving and helping others. So if you have a curious mindset, then when you're talking to somebody, you're not thinking about you're not thinking about yourself. You're curious about their situation. And if you are genuinely curious, like, I want to know more about, why did you fill this form out? I want to know more about what's going to happen if one of you passes away. And if you are genuinely curious, then it's going to lead you to knowing more about your clients, and it's going to lead you to asking those questions, like Amie said, where you want to call the people who are doing this. I want to, I want to call Ryan Reynolds. I want to call Jamie Cheerio. I want to call everybody. So we call you guys all the time. And when we first started out 2 years ago, like we were on the phone with you every single day. It was like after an appointment, we were calling, okay, tell us what happened. And I still remember it was 2 years ago where we sat with a dentist and he wanted a crazy amount, like $1 million, and he was 70 something years old. And we walked out and we called you, Alondra, and we're like, what do we do? And you're like, call him back, tell him we'll go fully underwritten. And so that's exactly what we did. And we ended up writing a policy for over $1,000 a month premium. It didn't go through. Like this was back like when COVID was still a big deal. And so a 70-year-old could not get approved for if there was anything wrong. So it was like a $14,000 annual premium policy, and Mutual of Omaha, boo, declined him. Transamerica declined him. And we lost it, but we knew that we could do it. And we knew that you could help us in ways that we couldn't even, at that point, like we didn't have a clue. We couldn't fathom what the right path was on our own. And if we would have just said, well, that's the way it goes, and not called you, we wouldn't have known of any other options. So by having that curiosity, like, what do we do in that situation? It allowed us to learn. And that learning, you don't feel it like necessarily on day one when you're in the midst of learning, but over time, it's amazing what that curiosity does and how you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm talking to this person and I know how to help them right now. I don't have to look anything up anymore. I don't have to make a call. Like I actually know this stuff. And if you're just curious and you keep on going, that's the other thing is consistency. If you're curious and you're consistent, like you're gonna get there. You're going to get there.
Thank you for sharing that, Pat. I got Josh over here wanting to ask some questions too. So.
Hey guys, I just wanted to get Alondra on. She's definitely the better looking one out of the couple and have her on the camera. No, but I'm just sitting here listening to you guys, and it's so fun just because it feels like it's come full circle with you guys. And a testament to your guys' hard work, consistency, and everything that you guys have put into this. And it just reminds me of, great things happen when you do more than what's expected. And that's something that I always think about when it comes to you guys, because you're always doing whatever you can to get to the next level. And guys, for everybody on the call, this hasn't been an easy ride for the Bowers. This isn't just something, hey, they wrote 40 families last month, 40 families. And that doesn't happen by accident either, guys. But the journey here has been long. It's been hard. I'm sure been tears on both sides, right? But guys, it's just so cool to see what happens when you lead with your heart, you have a great attitude, and you work your tail off. And that's something that I always think of the Bowers. It's just hard work and consistency, and always having that grateful, FFL gratitude attitude. And I love it, guys. But one thing I really wanted to ask you guys, and again, building a team, guys, you guys did over 200 families as a team last month. That doesn't just happen out of nowhere. A lot of people getting help, a lot of hours on the phone, bing bong dials, everything that you guys are doing, right? But if I'm a new agent, Pat, I'm a new agent, and I need 3 things that are, hey, these are the 3 things you need to do to be successful here. And whatever I want to do, say I want to go protect 10 families my first month. And, and what are 3 things I need to do as a producer to get to that step?
3 things. So I would say you need to practice. So it's not enough to just read a script. You have to practice that. You have to practice it a 1,000 times, and that is still just scratching the surface. You need to give that. You need to say the script to your dog. You need to say the script to, like, you need to call your friend. You need to call your mom. You need to call your dad. Like you talk to anybody, just bouncing this script off of them over and over again to the point where there are no awkward pauses, where you have the right intonation. You should definitely be talking to the person who brought you on, the manager. So like practice first of all. And then you need to buy leads. You have to get as many leads as you can so that you have as many opportunities. Like I said, 1,000 leads. If you can get through 1,000 leads in a day, then that's just going to speed up that process. And it really doesn't matter what those leads are. When you start out, when we started out, the only thing available, now this was a different time in FFL, the only thing available to us in the CRM were like 250 silver mortgage protection, call in silvers. That was all that was there. And Alondra's like, buy them. Buy instant. Wasn't even instant, came out like a week after we started. So there weren't instants yet. There were only, that was all. And we're like, what? Okay, we're gonna buy them all. What does silver mean, Alondra? And Silver's like, well, they hung up in the process of calling in to see if they wanted this service. We're like, okay, let's go. And we're hand dialing them. And that was at the same time we had been dislocated because we were evacuated from our house because of a fire. And we're staying at Amy's dad's. We're staying like somewhere that is not comfortable. Like we love staying there, but it's not like, this isn't home. Nothing is as it should be. And then we're doing this new job. And we booked and we wrote $50,000 we wrote a $50,000 face value on a lady who was 75 years old. So we stacked Americo and American Amicable, and we 10x'd our money on one sit, and then we just kept on going. So you buy the lead, you practice, you buy the leads, and then you get on the phone. Like get on the phone and just stay on the phone. Don't allow yourself to get off the phone. Like those are my 3 things. Amie might have 3 different things, but those would be my 3. If somebody's going to get going right away, that's it.
No, I love that. I agree. The only thing else I would just add is we just kind of make an expectations for our new agents coming on just to get on the phones, and whether it's booking appointments for your manager, even if you're going through licensing, just get on, ask your manager, can I book your appointments for you? I don't have a license yet, but I just need to get some reps. I need to get on the phone. I need to get uncomfortable, and I need to work through this so that when I get my license and I'm through contracting, like it's game on and there's no downtime. Like you've already flattened that learning curve. So as fast as you can, just get on the phone, ask your manager, what can I do? Like I'm ready. And that's,
yeah,
I think that's huge. We have some new agents that did that. And as soon as they got contracting, they were out writing policies, like within the first 2 days.
Yeah.
So
it's the equivalent of like, as far as dialing and getting hung up on and all that stuff, right? It's the equivalent of a new doctor, like who can't stand the sight of blood. Like we have to get over that. If you're going to be a surgeon, you're going to see blood. If you're going to be in this business, you're going to call people who are going to tell you to F off. You're going to call people who are going to hang up on you. You're going to call people who are going to tell you that you are the lowest blah 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 version of, and that's the sight of blood. If the sight of blood makes a surgeon not want to do their job, then the person who needs heart surgery isn't going to be saved, right? Like we have to just go through that, just, okay, that's blood, and keep on going, because that's on the way to what I need to do to save families. And so the quicker we can get over that and just realize like this does not harm me personally. This doesn't, like, I didn't just lose a limb. I didn't just get punched in the face. Somebody was just mean to me on the phone. Like, come on, we can handle that. We're right. Like we can like, that's not what's going to control my emotional well-being. And I'm just going to keep on going. And if we can get the quicker we can get every one of us within Relentless, the quicker we can get every one of us to just be like, this doesn't harm me emotionally. This doesn't harm me emotionally. I'm just going to keep going. Then the quicker as an entire agency, we're at 2 million, 3 million, and so on, because it doesn't hurt us when somebody's mean. Like what brings value to us is when we start helping our family in ways that we never imagined we could.
And one more thing, you guys, with that said, it's so much easier. We have an amazing group of people. Like Relentless has an amazing culture, and we try, I know fun, Pat just said it was an F word, but like fun in a way, like make this fun. Like we have like group chats with like Kyle and Drew, and it just helps like bring, if you get somebody that says F off, like we're literally like counting the F offs, like, okay, how many did you get today? Well, we got one more than you. And like, make it fun. There's so many great people in our group that will just like feed positivity into you. So we really, really appreciate the people that we're surrounded by, and it's just uplifting. And then to have the opportunity to do what we do, you guys, is amazing. So if you get those F-offs, like, that's okay, let it go. Delete it as fast as you can if it's through Zipo or whatever, so that it's out of sight, out of mind. And then look for those people that really want our help, because they're there.
Guys, I hope you were taking notes, and literally this is pure value and pure like real life what happens, and always true with the Bowers. Appreciate you guys being straight up and transparent with it. But what I got out of that, guys, is we need to be unemotional when we get started with the results, and we need to have a relentless work ethic. And I think that's hard, right? That's super hard, Pat, right? Because if I come do CrossFit with Pat and Amie Bowers in the morning and I want to keep up on their level, my feelings are going to be hurt for the first couple of weeks, right? But I think, guys, the more you can stick with this thing and go through the bumps and the bruises and go through the F-bombs and find a running buddy that you can do this thing with, guys, that's where it gets good. And that's where it gets, a lot more fun, right? Another F word. But guys, let's just find ways to stay more consistent, find ways to continue to get uncomfortable. I'm going to give Pat and Amie a shout out. They're locking out more leads than they've ever locked out ever. They're going to spend more money on leads ever in the next 90 days than they have been with FFL. Because again, they're not content with the results that they've gotten so far personally for them. And guys, I challenge everybody to do the same thing. Whatever situation you are in financially, guys, it doesn't get better unless you take risks, right? Because Pat, I remember when we started, again, it was super uncomfortable to buy 30 Facebook leads. We weren't in a good spot to do that. And I think a lot of people on the team are in that same spot, guys. But what's the alternative if you don't do it? You're going to be in the exact same spot you were prior to purchasing those leads. So guys, give yourselves an opportunity, go all in, bet on yourselves, and surround yourselves with good people like the Bowers and like everybody doing, high numbers on the team, and connect yourselves with people that are running the play you want to run. But Pat and Amie, can you guys end the call with any value you have for the team? And this call has been packed with value, guys, so I hope you've gotten a lot out of it. But any words of wisdom from the team, from Pat and Amie Bowers, and we'll go ahead and end with this, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. You have something that you want to end it with? Okay, so guys, think about this, okay? Every step requires a personal breakthrough. Every single step. So wherever you are at right now, it's going to require a different you to get to the next level. So every single step is going to require a personal breakthrough. If you can figure out little ways in your day to find those breakthroughs, honestly, it sounds ridiculous, but take a cold shower, and suffer through it, and then realize that you don't die. Like, that's going to make you stronger when you do the next thing. So find these ways to just change what you do in little tiny ways so that you are more comfortable making personal breakthroughs when it comes to the phone, when it comes to the in-home. Just don't allow yourself to say, okay, well, this is what I am, and it doesn't work with this business, so I'm going to leave. Like, don't allow that. Say, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to change me to make me better so that I am exactly what is right for this business. Because this business is an amazing opportunity. There are people that are, I mean, it's just, there's too much success here to say that it's not real. So if it's real and you're already here, you've made it 95% of the way. Now you just need to change you a little bit every single day to get better and better so that you get to where you want to go. That's it. Just accept those tiny little personal breakthroughs every single day. Do whatever you have to do to make that happen.
Be kind to yourselves, you guys. Like, honestly, I used to beat myself up. Pat and I are very like sport minded. We grew up playing sports, very competitive. When I'm not good at something right away, like I literally like beat myself up mentally. So Pat would catch me, like I'd be in front of the mirror saying like, I love the phones. I'm the best on the phones. I love the phones. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm faking it until I make it. Like I am like telling myself that I'm going to be the best on the phones. I love the phones. So just talk good things to yourselves, put it out there in the universe, honestly, you guys, and fake till you make it. Just go do it. And the phones they're frightening until you get to the point where you're just like, why was I ever afraid of the phones? So yeah, that's it. Just be nice to yourselves, like talk positive thoughts, and you guys are the best on the phones. Just learn to love them.
Amie, I'm glad you said that, because that I was just about to say that. I was like, I remember when Josh would think I was so crazy, like, because I would just sit there and I would just be like, and I was listening to myself because I was cleaning up my phone the other day and I found some recordings that I had done on my iPad. But I would record myself on the phone and I would get like yelled at or cursed at or whatever. And then like I would like, as soon as it was over, I just start laughing. Like I'd be like, ah, like just to like not like to normalize, like this is normal, it's good. I'm like, it's fine. Mary's having a bad day. I'll call her back. Or they'll hang up and then I'll purposely call them back. I can't even think what just happened. I'm like, let me just call them right back. And I would call them, and like mentally, like you're like, why would I call someone who just ended? I'm like, hey, hey, Sherry, the call just dropped. But once again, I'm going to be there at your house tomorrow. Do you prefer a 2 or a 3? And like I did little things like that. And Josh was like, dude, I cannot dial with you. You are just so cringe. But like I had to be like that in order to trick my mind, because I am very emotional. Like I do ride the highs. But I told Josh, dude, if I'm going to be emotional, I'd rather stay high all the time. So that's just the wavelength that I'm going to carry. And like, I'd leave, and like, sometimes like I wouldn't have a full schedule. I'd have like 3 or 4 appointments, and like, I would drive like to Fresno. So it was a drive, and Josh was like, dude, you're going to drive to Fresno for 4 appointments. I'm like, dude, I'm going to write 10 grand a day. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's just what's going to happen. Or I'd go out, and like, I always went out, like, I'm going to help everybody that I help, that everybody that I sit with, I'm going to be able to help them. Like, I'm going to do everything I can, and I'm going to be able to help them. And honestly, I do feel like that's the reason I hit Hall of Fame, because I always was like that. Like I would do things like unemotionally. I would get unemotional when it came to the spending. But when it came to the action, I was like, okay, we got to, like, I'm going to book 30 appointments this week. I'm going to book 25, like 20 appointments was my goal. Like if you're going out, it was like 10 and 10. And then you're like, there is no way you can fit 10 appointments. Like you're driving all over the place. But I carried that energy, and it helped it helped this business so much better. So if there's any tip that I can give you, and that you guys can correlate back from what the Bowers say, is just stay positive. We don't make it because of our own limiting beliefs. A lot of us think that we can't do this, but you just have to remind yourself, there are so many people that are winning at a high level. Why can't I? They're not anything any more special than I are. They're just working harder than me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we can all do this.
So, well, thank you guys so much for jumping on. Thank you guys for tuning in to our weekly call. We will see you guys next week. One last thing, if you guys did not get the memo, we are starting to do our new agent onboarding. We kind of switched it up. So if you actually haven't been on a new agent onboarding, I strongly advise you jump on. We changed it up. We just kind of want to keep this as simple as possible. For those that were on yesterday, we'd love your feedback. Let us know how it was, but we kind of broke in more into the in-home. Because I feel like there's just so many different things that we almost confuse ourselves at a boot camp. We're like, what do we do? Where do we even start? So if you haven't jumped on every Wednesday, 5:30 PS Pacific Standard Time or 8:30 Eastern Standard Time,